Well, here's a fun story. I was hoping one of you would ask, but you didn't, so I'm just going to tell you anyway. I was very nearly the victim of a hate crime, and that might be clickbait. You can decide for yourself. It was 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning. My friend and I had just come out from a club, and we were waiting for a bus, and we were sitting under a store door because it had a light above it. I was looking at the floor. It's very important that you know that. By the way, for context, there have been some riots going on in the UK about like immigration and how people don't like it because they're racist. Thankfully, there have been like counter protests, so that's nice. But anyway, I'm sitting down minding my own business when I hear the call of a drunk white man, which is the last thing you ever want to hear at night, especially if you're not male presenting. Don't let the beard fool you, I'm actually non-binary. But yeah, he calls to me, "Why are you staring at me? Why the fuck are you staring at me?" Now, this is a surprise to me because I was under the impression that I was not staring at anybody unless there was a very pleasant ant on the floor that I was ogling. There wasn't. I checked. And at first I'm looking around trying to see who's, like, talking, because they cannot be talking to me. That would be ridiculous, right? But as it turns out... By the way, we're sitting at the bus stop, and it's a wide-ass road, but this guy, looking directly at me, starts, like, broadening his shoulders, clenching his fists, and just walking down the road. It's a long-ass road, so, like, there's no one else he's going to. There's, like, a bus stop 20 yards away, and maybe if I ran, someone else could defend me. But I wasn't thinking about that yet. I was thinking, holy shit, I have to talk to a stranger? This is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And he starts threatening the fuck out of me. He starts telling me to look away, otherwise, you know... There was the implication things would get violent. You know, from the bared fists and broad shoulders. I may not be able to tell on social cues that well, but that one I didn't really need help interpreting. And he tells me to look the other way, and I'm adamant that I wasn't staring at him, I'm so sorry, and I'm cowering. And my best friend's there, and she's just like... I mean, I wasn't really focusing on her, to be honest, but I'm sure she wasn't comfortable either. And it gets to the point where he is directing me as he's walking towards me to, like, move out of the way and, like, walk in the other direction while staring that way. And I've got my hands up the whole time. I'm staying as close to the wall as possible. I didn't consider at the time that I had steel-capped boots and I could aim for his balls. But it turns out in a fight-or-flight scenario, I am flight. And I didn't pick up on this until my friend told me afterwards, but the racism in this is when he told me to research the EDL, which is the worst threat I could possibly think of. Hey you, what? Do research! Ah! And I didn't know what the hell the EDL was, but my friend did. She didn't tell me exactly what it was, but she told me it was Islamophobic. And I was like, yep, sounds about right. So I looked it up, and it stands for English Defence League. I mean, I didn't look it up right then, I had no data. But once I got home, I looked it up, and it said English Defence League, which was this, like, far-right Islamophobic group. So I guess the racism was in the presumption that because I looked Middle Eastern, that I was a follower of Islam. Which, I mean, my dad was, non-practicing, but he doesn't know that. Unless he's in cahoots with my dad, which would be weird because he's dead. But if he has some ties to my extended family, then it would be nice to finally meet them. Anyway, so on the bus ride back, I'm in a fucking catatonic state. I am mortified by what has happened. And I remember once I got home, I told my family about it, and they didn't understand, and I lashed the fuck out of them. So yeah, that was a fun story, wasn't it? If anything else traumatic happens to me, I'll be sure to tell you and milk the hell out of it. Have a nice day and don't get hate crimed, I guess.